Hello, my name is Dr. Zoltan Buzady. Greetings from Budapest, Hungary. Thank you very much for your kind invitation. I would like to talk to you through my approach, my observations about the future of learning. I have been in the leadership development business and as an educator for over 25 years now, and I have specialized on adult education, leadership development. I am going to share with you the essence of what I think is the trend for the future. And also I want to give you tips on how to prepare yourself and your institution better for the future also. So what are the implications? I myself, I'm very proud to be associated closely with the world famous Hungarian Professor Mihály Csikszentmihalyi, who's the founder of positive psychology, the inventor of the flow phenomenon, which is so important for hyper performance, learning, productivity, creativity, and happiness. And together with him and his team, I have been involved in Fligby, which is his leadership development game. I'm going to use some of the parallels of that tool also here in my presentation. We also wrote a book about that, which you can discover. It's called Missing Link, and it's focusing on the practice of leadership training. I will speak to you in two parts. First, I would like to outline briefly the trends, the overall trends which we're facing. And then in the second part, I will give you tips and implications. In terms of the trends, you perfectly know that competitive advantage has its foundations on using the finances wisely to have organizational assets, offices, equipments, brands to drive the profitability. Also in the 80s, 90s, it became apparent that knowledge-intensive industries, knowledge-intensive societies need to have appropriate systems of education, not only in university, but also in a corporate level. More recently, organizations have moved their competitive advantage to yet another level, which is related to the social capital. They're building alliances, they have knowledge creation across the organizational border and across national borders. So learning is happening in diverse teams. I think the future trend, which is the most important, is the proliferation of psychological capital. People are not going to become competitive only if they have proper tools, the knowledge, and the people around them. They need something which is positive psychological capital, something which inspires them to overcome difficulties, to have optimism. And this is created, by the way, in moments of experiencing the flow. And this is something which in the future will need to become a driver of your educational systems, of your educational philosophy, to make positive experiences on the learning which you're going to put together. How to achieve this is going to be the question. Well, here's my important sentence. It's been quoted a lot across the globe by now. All styles of teaching are valid except the boring one. So let me share with you my approach, our approach on how to avoid this boringness trap and to actually create positive psychological capital. The implications, part one. First of all, we find it very, very useful to use tools, digital tools, and that is called serious gaming. A serious game consists actually of three different elements. It must have something which you're going to learn. It's not just a gamification of a process, but it's actually something which has something to convey, some theory, something which needs to be learned. Second, a serious game also is a digital platform, so it has advantages that it can be played offline and online in blended approaches. It can measure skills, and actually it can be repeated in different organizational settings. The third one is that a serious game has fun elements, leaderboards, entertaining plot. People can make mistakes. They are actually learning from their mistakes, so it can be repeated by the help of the simulation part of it. So serious gaming are all around. The one which we use for our adult learning, which I think is going to be around for the next years to come for sure, it's called Fligby. It's Csikszentmihalyi's official game to train people with the flow concept. and also based on the business principles he described in the Good Business book. And it's made available for you in organizational and MBA settings, of course, as well, through partners and myself too. So you can read about this if you want more on the flowleadership.org page. The second part of the implications, which I would like to outline, is related to the Rubik Cube. Many people who think that the Rubik Cube cannot be done play around for 43 quintillion permutations in hope that they get it right. A bad educator is playing around in the hope that he gets it right. A good educator is aware that the Rubik Cube has 3 major dimensions and starts to understand, unfold, and prepares according to those 3 dimensions. Dimension number 1 is to consider are the participants. You should think on how to move participants increasingly from teaching them to helping them to learn. Second dimension aspect related to participants is think of their portfolio of skills you want to develop, and there are different scales and levels of skills you might want to design first before you engage into teaching with them. The third one is the importance that participants are preparing and do pre-work. They don't just arrive into the training setting or the teaching setting. Second dimension has to do with the teachers. I recommend all faculty to be aware of the various ego states, the psychological ways of communicating from nurturing parent, critical parent, adult, and even using the free child mental state. Participants appreciate if you have made a good choice on the teaching materials. You really have to know your material, not just prepare and teach once. A course has not been taught until you have taught it 10 times is the rule. That's the Harvard Business School rule. And also think of the group imago which you're applying. What picture do you have of yourself as a trainer, as a teacher, in terms of your self-identity? Dimension number 3, in analogy to Rubik Cube, to consider is the learning environment. So we think it's very important to consider the setting of week 0, the first days, the first interactions, the forming the expectations, the priming, and understanding participants, the responsibility and my responsibilities. Institutions must play a role in that. Organizers of training and development are responsible for that. Second subdimension aspect of the third dimension has to do with the group dynamics, cohort dynamics. You know, just like teams, groups also, and learning goes through group dynamics, so you have to manage those. And the third one is the aspect of participant-centered learning. Harvard-style, business school-style learning is going to become even more important, so institutions need to be able to cater for project-based learning. Most of the courses nowadays are really just projects driven, and therefore serious game tools can help on that. So if you want to turn your teaching and your training in the future better and to put it together like the master guru, think of the 3 dimensions I just mentioned to you, and don't play around with the 43 quintillion permutations. You can read about this. Here's a bit.ly link where my article is shared. It's a book chapter on the Rubik Cube analogies and the teaching. Thank you very much, my friends, dear community. I would like to invite you for a great discussion about these topics. May the flow be with you. Please feel to reconnect with me on social media. I'm sharing a lot of materials. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Best wishes from Budapest.